Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started now in a few seconds here. I would appreciate if everyone can take their seats so we can get the discussion going. Okay, so my name is Muqsid Ashraf. I lead Accenture's Accenture strategy as a global lead. And it's a pleasure for me to be hosting this discussion here, which is around navigating the human-AI partnership in the workplace. I want to start with some powerful words. They are the following. Cloud is an enabler, data is a driver, and AI is a differentiator. Those are the words of the Chair and CEO of Accenture, Julie Sweet, who will soon be providing her opening comments. Julie recently announced a $3 billion investment for Accenture in the areas of data and AI, with the intent of helping the largest enterprises around the world really reinvent across all industries and drive their transformation via AI in a rapid and responsible fashion. So we will hear from Julie. Julie is, as I said, the Chair and CEO of Accenture. She's one of the, rated by Forbes as one of the top 100 most powerful women globally, also rated by Fortune as one of the most powerful women in business. She's also on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum, and it's my distinct pleasure to welcome Julie to the stage. Julie, please.
Hello, everyone. So we have a long tradition at Accenture of honoring senior leaders when they retire. And we frequently have senior leaders who've been at Accenture 30, 35, even 40 years. For the last decade, the way we honor them, one of the ways, is we go to 100 people and we ask them for one word that describes them. We take those words, we create a word cloud, we frame it, and we present it. This year, we had 4 leaders with over 35 years of experience retiring, and we did something different. We asked the 100 leaders for that one word, and then we took those words, we gave them to a large language model, a form of Gen AI, and we said, please create an original piece of art that reflects the meaning, the sentiment, and the context of those words. And we presented to each leader a beautiful, individualized piece of art. That is reinvention. It is a very small example of the power of AI. It requires us to think differently, to do differently, and it results in a different outcome. And the theme that we keep going over and over again, starting in 2019, is that companies and countries that will succeed in the next decade will use technology, data, and AI to reinvent, which is why it's perfect to have this panel in Saudi Arabia, which is at the center of reinventing itself and industries. So as we get ready for the panel, and I'm excited to hear from each of our guests, there are 3 things that we believe are critically important when you think about how do you reinvent. The first is, of course, talent. In 2019, when I became the CEO of Accenture, we introduced for our then 500,000 people a program called TQ, requiring everyone to take an assessment, and if they couldn't pass, a course on core technologies, whether you worked in HR, the mailroom, or served clients. One of those was AI. Today, I have 600,000 people out of our 700,000 who've taken a basic course in AI. The reason we did that was we knew that every part of the enterprise, including how we operate, would be reinvented. This year, we will train 250,000 of our people in a 4-hour next generation AI course, because this is how we will begin to reinvent and work differently. In addition, we're doubling from 40,000 to 80,000 our deeply skilled data and AI. So as organizations, ensuring that you have a talent strategy, how will you access the talent you need for technology, data, and AI, and how will you yourself be able to create talent, to train talent, and to make your workforce ready. But it is not simply skills. If there is one question that I would recommend that every C-suite leader ask when someone brings to them a technology project, is I would say, how are we going to work differently because of this project? How do we work today, and how will we work tomorrow? One of the biggest failing points when we see people investing and not getting value of any kind of a technology investment, including AI, it is because they have not focused enough on what will the new ways of working be, what skills will be required, and how will you organize differently to get the value. The second really important thing to focus on in terms of getting value is investment. Technology is not itself an investment. It is only the outcome that comes from it. And too often, I've literally had clients who don't create a business case around the outcome. And so at Accenture, someone cannot say, I'm going to move to the cloud. It's, why are you moving to the cloud? Today, we're 95% in the cloud, and that was built on a business case around outcomes. We risk, in the era of AI, many, many pilots and experiments that do not use the criteria of what is the outcome, what is the return. Gen AI, for example, is very expensive relative to other kinds of AI, and that needs to be built into the criteria. So having clear investment criteria that is not linked to the hype around the latest technology is absolutely critical. Finally, responsibility. Starting the broad use of AI with a responsible AI program is absolutely critical. I would ask yourself, is there one person in your organization that you can call that can tell you where is AI being used, what are the risks of that AI, and how are we monitoring and mitigating them? When I ask CEOs around the world today, 95%, the answer is no. We must, as companies, ensure that it's responsible so that our employees and our consumers and our governments can trust us. So those would be my 3 major pieces of advice: a talent strategy, clear investment criteria, and from the beginning, focus on responsible AI. So now I'm going to turn it over to this very exciting panel to really come together and think about how humans and AI will partner in reinvention in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. Those are 3 great points. Think about talent, think about investment, think about responsible AI. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce our panelists for the discussion today. I'll start with Jayesh Maganlal, who is the Chief Information and Digital Officer at Roshan Real Estate with 22 years of experience in leading technology and business transformation. Jayesh.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Our next panelist is Ray Gamal, who's the Chief Corporate Development and Enablement Officer for Riyadh Air. Ray is also the Interim Chief People and Culture Officer. Ray.
Moksit.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right. So let me sort of set the stage, Julie, building on the comments Julie made. Thanks a lot, Julie, for describing those 3 attributes, and also for spearheading Accenture's leadership position in this space, and for guiding many of the CEOs and boards in their journey in terms of taking AI and responsible AI forward. I think we are at a truly, inflection point, and I call it a game-changing inflection point. If you think of, especially with the advent of generative AI, if you think of how technology and AI has progressed over the past 10, 15 years, it's focused on building solutions that allow us to do things better and faster. So think of that as replicating human muscles. We are at a point where we are about to replicate the human mind. In some aspects we have. And that is the game-changing attribute that we got to think about. What does that really mean? As Julie talked about reinvention. At this point, I think it's a given. The question we should not be asking is, to what extent are we going to be seeing a transformation of nations, industries, and enterprises, but really how disruptive AI really would be. And I think that should be at the core of all of the dialogues that should be happening. And then building on the points that Julie talked about, if we think about the implications we're seeing from generative AI, which is part of the evolving continuum of AI, we're seeing significant enhancement in productivity. If you look at some of the work we have done recently, it suggests that about 50% of the tasks, in some industries as much as 70% of the tasks, would be augmented or automated as a result of generative AI. Those are not going to necessarily imply a shift in the workforce, but certainly in the skills of the workforce and the occupations that exist. And if I could put that in context, if you look at the last 15 years, the world has seen productivity gains, especially in the developed world, of 1 to 1.5% an annum. And now we're talking about gains which are 40, 50, 60% over a couple of years. That is the extent of change we're talking about. This is really setting a new performance frontier. And that is why this is a topic that's in every C-suite, it's in every board discussion, and that's what we're going to start to talk about today. A couple other points I would make as we get into the discussion, at the heart of the discussion. Julie mentioned the aspect of talent. If you think about some of the big changes that we're seeing, if you look at some of the cross-industry applications, we're seeing examples of work, augmentation work, supporting customer service centers or contact centers in terms of providing virtual assistants. We're seeing coding assistants. We're seeing co-pilots being applied in different services. Then you take domains, and we are starting to see applications in terms of augmenting asset management, a big topic here in this forum. We're seeing applications in terms of enhancing customer experience both in the B2B and the B2C space. And then you go into more industry-specific applications, to the point that Julie made around investments and the choices you have to make around investments. We're seeing applications in terms of accelerating drug discovery in life sciences. We're seeing how generative designs are coming into play in capital projects. So things are moving really fast. Things have moved really fast over the last few months. They're going to move even faster in the next 6 to 12 months. And this dizzying pace of progress has got to be a combination of the human and the human at the core, at the center, with the technology. The human actually enabling the unlocking of the value, thinking about the changes that need to happen in the ways of working, and then ensuring that the risks are mitigated carefully. So those are the themes, Ray, Jayesh, that we would cover, and would love to have your perspective on that. So let me start, Jayesh, with you. How are AI and Gen AI opening a new frontier for decision making from the standpoint of your organization?
Yeah, thanks, Mohsit. I think let's take a step back in terms of understanding how AI and the whole internet has evolved over time, right? Decision making used to happen where predominantly there was a lot of research done based on books, libraries, and then came the disruption of internet. Static informations were available, and then it got evolved to large search engines that were plugged in with AI. which allowed humans to be able to gain information and make decisions out of it. And then came the disruption of Gen AI, where you started getting curated information at a split of a second. And this allows people to be able to generate new insights and save a lot of time and drive efficiency. And this is not going to stop. This evolution of how AI has evolved to the point where we are today is going to continue. We're going to see that going forward, and that's not going to stop. Humans need to adapt to this change, and it's continued evolution of change that's going to happen. So coming back to the question again, in terms of how Gen AI and AI is changing the way we work, there's a lot of creative content creation that's happening today, right? And this is beyond the traditional boundaries. It allows faster innovation, it's increasing productivity, and in the real estate space per se, it's allowing us to streamline the design process of homes, right? Having the optimal layout for homes, better use of spaces and driving energy efficiency within the real estate sectors. And if you look at from a smart city perspective, right? There's a lot of sensors that are connected today, generating a lot of data, which is then allowing us to have preventive maintenance and be able to preempt security incidents and forecast them for better residents' comfort. And if you look at smart homes that are being built within your homes today, right? It's all about understanding individual preferences to create a very comfortable home. And this is just leveraging AI to be able to drive certain decisions within your comfort of your home, right? And last but not least, AI is really democratizing data insights. It's allowing everyone to be able to leverage what the insights are, and allowing people at all levels to make informed decisions, right? So organizations that are, and per se, and organizations that don't adapt and having a clear plan of AI within the organizations are clearly going to have a clear gap, and this gap is just going to get widened over time.
Excellent. So Ray, you have an exciting mandate of building a international airline.
Yes.
How are you planning on or already leveraging AI and even generative AI in terms of how you define or design the experiences and services for your customers or to-be customers?
Thanks, Muksid, and thank you all for joining us. Riyadh Air, let me maybe start with that story. It's the only startup flag carrier airline on the planet as we speak, and I'm not quite sure when there would be another one, to be honest, in anybody's lifetime. It's amazing that it's happening. The great Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the city of Riyadh, as we all know, as a G20 economy, is very underserved. Some of you who've flown from somewhere in the world to get here will have found that very challenging, and getting back will be even more challenging. Riyadh Air was announced by His Royal Highness in March, a very short period of time, 12th of March. An order was placed on the 14th of March for 72 Boeing Dreamliners. And the clear intent of our business is to be digitally led. A digital native business, the first digital native airline in the world. So the purpose is to have a digitally led business that enables travel, not to be confused with a conventional airline. That's our intent. And together with amazing Saudi hospitality, which we all know is amazing, and incredible customer service, that's how we intend to deliver. So if you look at that digital native tag and what does it actually mean, it's an incredible time. I've been too many years in business now, starting my 5th decade, so that makes me a dinosaur officially. And I'm so excited about what the power of Gen AI can do for a business like ours. If I look first at customer, to Muksid's question, which is core to our business, how will AI influence that? AI will dictate the outcome of that, no question. And because we have a blank piece of paper, we're starting with nothing. We don't have the challenge of transforming technology, moving people on, upskilling people, whatever is required in terms of culture change, etc. None of that exists. A blank piece of paper and an AI revolution happening at the same time. Really, the timing couldn't be any better. If I look at it from a customer perspective, and we're all customers of airlines somewhere, the ability to hyper-personalize the relationship with us is at our fingertips. The technology for us to be able to interact with what is a very, often challenging part of our lives, flying from A to B. You approach the airport with trepidation. You wonder what's going to happen next. You have to navigate through all of it and finally get to your aircraft and get to the other side of the world. There's a lot happening there. Multiply that with your family members, and you all know those stressful moments. Hyper-personalization is about engaging with us differently. The ability, the technology to do that through AI is on the cusp, and we are on the cusp. We don't have to engage with old legacy technology. We can move straight to the new technology. Of course, that brings risks, but with risk comes opportunity and reward. And so if I look at that hyper-personalization, it's a 360-degree view of the customer that allows tailored experiences. And those tailored experiences can vary depending on the part of the world, the person, the individual, and all the different characteristics. This is a groundbreaker. This is going to make it incredible for people to fly. I don't believe people are looking for better linen and better silverware on board. I think they're looking for a personal relationship with the organization that, for many of us, we spend a lot of our lives flying with, but also an important part of our everyday living.
Very well said, Ray. And customer experience and hyper-personalization, certainly, not only within AI, but generative AI is clearly a major untapped opportunity. So I'm glad you're thinking about it in the nascent stages of what I'm sure is going to be a great airline. Jayesh, going back to our theme and tying it to the talent topic that Julie mentioned, what in your mind are the key enablers for a symbiotic human-AI partnership or relationship?
I think, first of all, is to understand that AI is there to supercharge humans, right? It's not to replace them. I think that's fundamental. It's not going to change.
Very well said.
Right? Yeah. And if you go back into how technology has always been built, we've always looked at building layers of different capabilities that we need from a business perspective, but having an overarching strategy aligned with the business capability is absolutely essential. And the reason why it needs to be there is because it needs to be mapped out in terms of what AI can do differently for your current business today and how you can derive the maximum value for your business today. And that's from a strategy layer perspective. Second comes the technology part. And technology is the enabling function for this AI to be executed, because strategy without the right execution is just hallucination, right? We'll be dreaming. So, and trying to build AI in-house, it's going to take forever. So leveraging the cloud providers, leveraging technology partners who have already built algorithms is absolutely essential to accelerate the adoption of AI and have a symbiotic relationship within the organization. Third, I believe, is the culture. Getting the right talent is definitely important, but having the right leadership and having AI as an agenda top-down from an organization perspective is extremely crucial. It is the forefront of the leaders to ensure, to give everyone the comfort that AI is there not to replace them, but is to increase their productivity, to allow them to accelerate and discover new potentials that wasn't there before. Having a clear training and upskilling strategy is very important. So for an example, when we were rolling out data as a practice, the Leadership Institute was rolling out School of Analytics. But now is the time to talk about School of AI, like how you've done in Accenture. It's training the skill sets. Basic understanding of AI across the company is extremely, extremely important to give people the comfort that AI is not going to replace humans. And last but not least is definitely the part of ethics, right? And as they say, with great powers come great responsibilities. So how do you structure to have the right governance, to ensure there are proper guidelines, principles, and to ensure that the data is not used for malicious intents, right? Legal and regulatory requirements, data privacy and security needs to be met as well.
Excellent. So Ray, I mean, you have the opportunity to almost start from a clean slate, and as you're thinking about ramping up Ria there, from a talent standpoint, in terms of attracting, developing, enhancing their, their culture, if you will, and also thinking about the ways of working.
Yeah.
What are some of the aspects that you're thinking about, and how Gen AI is actually helping drive that?
Look, it's mind-blowing what the power of this is bringing to us. It's changing everything, and we see it as a startup because of the blank piece of paper. So how jobs are defined is going to be transformed, is being transformed by AI. Jane Fraser, the group CEO of Citibank, spoke yesterday morning. I don't know if some of you got that opening speech, and she spoke about in the workplace today, many workers are 80% processing and 20% added intelligence, and that AI will flip that. That is mind-blowing, and it's true. I visited, Matt Wyatt is here, PIF Shared Service Lead, and we talk about HR all the time and HR delivery. And I visited a huge global corporation, and they talk about zero-touch HR. Now, I like to talk about zero-touch, maximum care HR. But zero-touch means everything is that should be processed is being processed by AI. 96% of queries are being answered, that were being answered by humans are being answered by machines now. That's amazing because it allows, back to Jayesh's point about it's not man or person or versus machine, it's people and machine. And those statistics are incredible. So imagine a world where it's not far away, where that assistant that you have in every role. So if you take an airline, every decision from operations to administration, from people to customers, everything that's being done day in, day out, and there is an advisor, somebody on your shoulder, somebody with you, call it what you want, a digital assistant that coaches, that advises, that takes the burden of the day-to-day. And actually, in your day-to-day job, all that burden is taken, and you have the ability to skill up. So there is almost nothing that is not touched by this. The decision-making that's there, the ability for the technology to support individuals in their day-to-day job, coaching, mentoring, advising, doing a lot of work on your behalf, on our behalf in every job. And of course, the decision-making in all of these areas is highly complex. And the more information we have in the best possible way, provided by machines, allows us to make the best possible decision, the most informed decision. And that's what we will get with this. So we look at jobs today and we say, do we need to hire at all? And that's the first question, can it be done by AI? And it has to be the first question going forward. Now that's difficult if you have an organization of 700,000 people, but AI will never be able to replace Accenture executives, I'm sure. But it is a serious note that has to be looked at. But when you're in a startup, you start with that question, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. And nobody is replaceable. I meet every employee as part of a session. We have a welcome session who join Ria there. And, they're working on it. We're working on an avatar, which is kind of scary, that thinks, hopefully doesn't look like me, but at least is human enough to act in a way that replicates what we want in terms of the interaction, so that thousands and thousands of people can have a consistent experience where you can't get to thousands and thousands of people, as an example. So the examples are just endless, but the work is already being transformed, has already begun the transformation. It's not about when is it going to happen, it's happening, and it's amazing.
Great. I'm going to keep us moving. Julie talked about responsible AI as a third key element of the human AI interface. Ray, coming back to you, what are some of the key risks associated with AI that you see from the vantage point of your business, and how are you managing those?
Yeah, look, I think there's a number of risks. I think for sure, they talk about algorithm bias being a risk. We know that this is an issue. We know there is issues with security. We know there's issues with privacy. We know that there's issues with integration. And these are all, in my mind, things that need to be managed. And I think there's ways to manage it. So for instance, at RIA there, we are creating an ethics committee, which gives the right level of oversight, policies, procedures, oversight, back to this man or woman or person versus machine. There has to be oversight, intelligent interaction. So policies, procedures, an ethics committee to ensure it's done in the right way. But the advice I would give is to start with an AI roadmap for your organizations. Start with a roadmap. And year one can be just about positioning. The challenge of helping people to understand there's nothing to fear. So year one is about establishing it. Year two, year three, year four, year five, you agree as an organization how you want to move forward with this great concept, this great tool of AI. And that roadmap can be your guide. So yes, there's risks, but with risks, as I said, comes great opportunity. If I look back in the day, I worked for Intel Corporation many decades ago, and when the internet first became pervasive, this tech firm, which is one of the world leaders and #1 chip manufacturer in the world, in our organization at the time, the internet was banned when it first came out because it was going to be a distraction to the employees. We remember these well. Some people remember and smile at that time. The internet was going to be a distraction. Wow. And so these new technologies do take time, but embracing them and putting the right check and balance in place, they'll work.
So Jayesh, let's talk a little bit about ethical considerations, so the notion of bias, fairness, transparency. How do you see that being managed?
I think apart from just bias, fairness, and transparency, there are other elements that profoundly influences these issues, right? And these are things that are related, for an example, to data privacy, right? A lot of countries now have thought process on GDPR, PDPL, legal frameworks, right? And this is helping organizations to think and act in that direction to ensure that data being the source of how AI is going to give you those decisions are acted upon correctly. Second is the accountability. When AI makes wrong decisions, right, based on biased judgment, who is accountable within the organization to be able to review, monitor, to check on those and to be able to fix. Third is about ensuring there's a human oversight on this, right? Especially in critical decision making. Yes, AI can automate a lot of these activities from a human perspective, but if required, a human should be able to intervene. And this is extremely, extremely important, right? Societal impact is also needs to be understood. The broad impact of AI, especially to employees, to the customers that you're dealing with, and how do we address and mitigate negative consequences? This is also very, very important. Last but not least is the regulatory compliance, just to make sure you adhere, you keep up to legal regulations, just to avoid any legal and reputational damages.
That's a pretty balanced perspective. We have the opportunity to take some questions from the audience, probably one or two, given the time we have. I think there are probably some mics that we can, if anyone, I see a hand there. Was that? Can we get a mic there? Right here.
Hi, fantastic topic. As leaders, you're considering AI in your business strategy, and with data privacy, you're considering how to be conscious of employees using AI, but how are you addressing actual upskilling and reskilling of existing employees so that they get to learn AI skills and can stay ahead of the curve?
Jayesh, maybe.
Yeah,
you
sure.
can take that.
I'll take that topic. So, in one of the organizations that I worked before, and data and being a data-driven organization needed the entire staff to be educated what data means to them, and this came with the birth of School of Analytics, educating people what data means to you, how do you handle data, how do you translate data, and how do you work with data within your business functions. So similarly, now it's the time, and maybe it's the right time to do it, is to establish School of AI within each organization to be able to have syllabus that are matching to different job codes, different level of expertise within the organization, just to give them foundation of what AI actually means, rather than having a hearsay of a misinterpretation of AI where everyone believes that AI is going to take over human jobs in the future. Yes, it's going to potentially impact some of the jobs, but it allows you to explore new opportunities, new ways of working, and frees up time on mundane tasks, right? So I think establishing a right syllabus in terms of educating every single employee is fabulous. And I think what Julie had said in terms of what Accenture is doing is incredible. The numbers are absolutely insane, right? 600,000 already trained, 250,000 will be trained this year. So it's really something to be replicated upon.
Great. I think we have one more question here. And
Yes, thank you very much. Regarding the policy, the privacy, and the ethic, we have the same situation in accounting. We have auditors. We have now reporting on ESG. What's your position about the new auditors for ethic policy regarding the company? Who should audit the model that you build or the AI you use? What's your position about that? Who should the new auditors should
Ray,
be?
you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's evolving. As I said, inside our organization, it starts inside the organization with the right frameworks. I think an oversight committee is important in order to ensure the framework is appropriate. I don't think we need to over-engineer it at this stage. It's an enabling technology. I think, like all parts of the business, the term audit has in many ways expanded over decades to include many aspects like ESG, various other aspects. And I think as legislation, regulation evolves around AI, I think that's where the audit process will get its frames of reference to engage with business from. I think still there's a lot of open questions at a government level and at a regulatory level that will evolve, and I think that's where that piece will come.
Okay. We'll do one last question very quickly. Oh, sorry.
Is this working?
No.
Yeah. No.
Not working. Okay.
Can we get another mic?
I might just quickly add on that question. I think Accenture is a model in this because we've been doing this quite for some time. Our responsible AI program is overseen by our board, just like anti-corruption, just like data privacy, export control. It is a dually led by our chief compliance officer, but also by an officer in technology, because our compliance department would not have the technical knowledge. And so we have two people who are fully accountable. And our COO is accountable for making sure that it's actually implemented in every part of the organization. So this will become more and more standard. It is very, very early. And so companies like, what Wei talks about, who already have committees, are ahead, but it really must rapidly become a proper compliance program like the ones that we're all used to, like anti-corruption, data privacy.
And I think that concept is what we call responsible AI by design. And I think it's very important that you're not just reacting to it, but building it into the design. Can we get a real short question and maybe a short answer, and then we have some closing comments?
Thanks for the pressure. So, quick question. AI is not something you stick a label and suddenly you have AI, right? You need to have data readiness. How do you assess readiness of your data to actually have usable AI output?
Jayesh?
Yeah, sure. I think it starts from your whole data strategy. You need to get your data quality in place. You need to have a clear strategy in terms of how you manage data, how do you govern data, how do you ensure data quality, because it's garbage in, garbage out at the end of the day. So I would say that the foundation of trying to get AI built on top of the data that you have is to ensure that there is a clear roadmap, there's a clear strategy in terms of how data is being managed, how data is governed, and how data is being managed as an organization. And then you can build anything on top of that.
As I said at the start of the discussion, using Julie's words, cloud is an enabler, data is a driver, and AI is a differentiator. So that driver really serves as the foundation for AI. And as we wrap, I would say, from the discussion, people and culture are the sustainers of the transformation or the reinvention that Julie referenced. I think what we learned was the human AI interface is going to create new and different jobs and different ways of delivering those jobs. And that relationship is going to be absolutely essential, channeled in a responsible way, to really unlock the value that is going to be massive in the trillions. And we know we're still in the early nascent stages in areas like generative AI, and there's a lot more to come. So with that, I would wrap. Big thank you, Julie, for introductory comments. A big thank you, Jayesh and Ray, for your perspective. And thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.